Hey everybody, welcome to D-Lab. Today I'm working on another Zenith console radio. This is the initial inspection, checkout, and hopefully hear if it has any life type video, okay? So this is a Zenith 8S443 and it's the chassis 5808, okay? It has not been turned on in probably 20 years, okay? It's just been sitting and waiting to be in my hands. So I just want to see if it works. We'll do what I can at this point in part one. And part two, I will wrap up the repair, okay? So don't pass judgment. We're just going to see what we can do with this vintage radio. Here we go. I pulled the chassis out of the Zenith. We're going to bring it up on the Variac. I'm going to turn the lights off. Bring it up the Variac now. Looking for tubes to light, hopefully. That one's on. Starting to hear a slight hum, so that's a good sign. Alright, well, at least it's alive, so that's a good thing. So next I'm going to pull the chassis out, take a look at the filter caps. I'm sure they need to be replaced. Get some fresh caps in it, clean this thing up a little bit, and retest. Alright, let's get this dusty thing out of here. Gotta pull off the cable that goes down to the speaker. Let's see what we got going on. What a beauty, huh? Lots of dust. Alright, get it up here, flip it over. So this thing has not been fired up in many years, as you can tell from the dust. Power cord was dry rotted right off of it. Get it up here where we can take a look. Okay, here we are. Bottom side, got a filter cap up there, all waxers, right? Here is that tuning band that's usually wore out, and this one is. Okay, it's not doing anything, so I'm gonna have to replace that. The last one I worked on, there was a lot of slop in this bearing, but this one feels pretty good. Down there is the main filter cap. You can see some wax dripping out, and if you take a look in the bottom of the cabinet, you can see a little trail of the wax that came off that cap. So I'm sure it's toasted. So first thing I'm going to do is we'll put in a new filter cap here and the one up there. Then we're going to try to test it again. But I did discover something that's a real bummer. I'm not sure how I'm going to fix it. This is the band select switch. The linkage is broken. And it appears to be like a pot metal. So I'm not going to be able to repair that. So maybe one of you guys out there have a donor machine around and you can send D-Lab that part. But first, let's see if we can at least get this thing to sing. I'm going to start out by changing this dual section 16 microfarad cap. Alright, if you take a look over here, all the leads dump out of one end and then they take off to wherever they need to go, right? So what I think I'm going to do to make this easy is put a terminal board down here and just move these wires onto the terminal board that has the new caps. That way I don't stress out anything in the radio, because the wiring in these things gets really brittle. Like you see this blue wire, the thing doesn't even want to move. It's like solidified and there's a big crack going down it. This is a typical issue that I see in these Zeniths, is the rubber deteriorates, becomes very brittle. So I don't want to mess that up at this point. I just want to get this thing working. Okay, here we go. Get in here and just clip these leads right off. If I can get to them. Okay, there's all three leads off. Now there's a little bracket that's pop riveted I'm going to get my wire cutters in there, hopefully without hitting anything. I'm going to clip that bracket. I've got nice sharp wire cutters. There we go. Come on. Here she comes. Isn't that lovely? Got a little goober hanging off there. 16 microfarad at 450 volts. These leads should be able to go right down to my new terminal board. So let's get that installed. Here's my little filter cap assembly. It's going to sit back here on the terminal board, and I'll bring the wiring down to it. I've got the leads stripped, ready to reconnect. Now this black wire, you would assume goes to ground, but if you look at the schematic, it does not, okay? So when you put in your new caps, make sure that you don't put the negative side to ground, put them back to that black wire. Alright, get these soldered up. I got the 3 wires on the terminal board. So let's get these soldered up, and then I have to change the other 16 microfarad cap that's up on the other side of the chassis. And after that, we'll be ready for a test run. I can smell that wax burning off of these wires from the old filter cap. Alright, well, I've got those new filter caps installed. The radio is back in the cabinet just for test purposes. But I'm getting nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I either don't have high voltage or got some really dead tubes. So to troubleshoot this further, I'm going to have to pull the speaker out so I can get this whole thing on the bench, because putting it in and out of the radio is not a lot of fun. Alright, so I took my little sewing table cart here. I was able to flip this guy up on its edge. So here, high voltage, 116 volts. Got a dog walking through. We got here 172 volts there. And the other 16 microfarad cap down here on the output tube's got like 1.6 volts. So we've got high voltage, but we have no receive. I mean, not even a wisp of receive. Very strange. Alright, so I got a sneaking suspicion here that I might have a problem with the choke that's on the back of the speaker. So here comes my high voltage going into that choke. You can see about 150 volts, let's say. Okay, I should be leaving one of those leads and coming over here to the output tube. I'm getting nothing, like 1.7 volts. So we have no high voltage going to the output tube. So maybe when I moved it, I interrupted the wiring. Hopefully it's not a bad coil on the speaker, because I did have hum before I pulled this chassis out. Okay, so I'm going to pop this off and ohm out the speaker coil. Okay, I believe I know what's going on. I got my ohm meter set at the 200 ohm scale. Here is the plate of the 6F6 tube. Looky there. 10 ohms to ground. So that high voltage coming through the coil on the speaker is now seeing 10 ohms to ground. So something on this line obviously is very close to being shorted. Let's pull out the 6F6 tube. See what we get. Of course that won't clear it. Alright, I'm going to disconnect this cap that I just installed because this problem happened after I installed the cap. So I've got the low side of my cap disconnected, and guess what? We still got the 10 ohms to ground. That's really weird. So except for that cap, I have a 220k resistor going there. There's a couple of resistors here. It looks like a voltage divider. And they're obviously not shorted. And then there is a wire here. It's taking off across the chassis. Kind of goes up here. There's that same 10 ohms. So something up this line is shorted. Time to investigate. Alright, so there's our short. I followed the wire up, and what do we got right there? Old Mr. Waxer, and it's going right to the terminal board that I have to short on. Okay, so let's see if I cut it, if our short goes away. Ready? No. Oh boy. Alright, well, I was going to change that cap anyway. Let's go ahead and change that, and we'll keep searching for the short. Alright, discovery. Look at our ohm reading now. This red wire right here going, I believe, into an IF can. When I move it, watch the meter. See, I'm moving it all over the place. Let me get my finger in there. I can change that resistance. So obviously somewhere, see there? Back to 10. This wire must be touching something it shouldn't. Yeah, that's a real stinking nightmare because it's up inside of an IF can, I believe. But there's no doubt while I'm moving this wire around, my short is changing. So I need to find out where it goes. Obviously, as you can see right there, the insulation's falling off the wire. So somewhere up in there, it's contacting close to chassis. Okay, so you can see I've cleared the short, but if we go up in this little cavity here, just move things around, it comes back. So I'm going to pull the top off the IF can and see what's going on. Alright, I was able to temporarily remove the short. I'm going to turn on the variac. This was the line that was dead because of the short. Now we got some high voltage coming up. Good sign. Any signs of life? Ah, that's good. A little hum. It's better than nothing. Of course, remember my tuning doesn't work, but maybe. Either way, I've got something now. I do not have the antenna connected. Let's try that and see if we can get a station. Well guys, I don't know. Absolutely no signs of life with this one. The tuning cap really is stiff. Barely turn it. I did hit the bearing surfaces with some WD-40, but I'm just not getting anything here that's promising. I don't know if I'm going to continue with this repair.
by a score of 46-20.
And then, right when I was going to give up, she comes to life.
Later on tonight, the Ravens,
alright,
the Patriots,
I guess the Zenith is worth fixing.
Vikings.
So to tell you the truth, I was really leaning towards forget this project. The Zenith needs too much work. But as you saw, in the last minute, it started playing a station. It was like, hey, Terry, don't give up. I can play a radio station even in the terrible condition that I'm in. So I thought, okay, all right, you showed me good faith, I'll show you some good faith. Here is the major problem, guys. This little band switch lever, okay? The reason it broke is this switch is really stiff, okay? So it put excessive torque on this little pot metal assembly and snap, it was over, okay? So I got online, I looked them up, and yeah, there's no reproductions, so guys are trying to get $100 for this little thing, okay? I get it. People need it, you've got it, you're going to demand whatever you can get. I'm not going that direction because this radio is not worth $100. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I came up with a little method I believe will work. Envision a broken leg and a splint. Okay, so that's what I'm going to create here. I have two washers that I've drilled out to pass over the outside diameter of this shaft. I'm going to put one behind and one in front. So I'm going to sandwich this lever between these two aluminum washers. Okay, I'm going to clean the surfaces and apply JB weld. I've got the JB weld that has the metal in it, and I believe that after I do that, it's actually going to be stronger than this original little lever that just stuck off the side of this shaft. So let's get gluing. So to perform the operation, I'm not doing it with these components in place. There's a set screw here. This will slide off. There's a little snap ring here. The shaft will come off. That'll give me the opportunity to get things clean, rough up the surfaces, get proper alignment, and apply the JB weld. Alright, we're getting close. Got my JB weld standing by. The washers are in place on that shaft assembly, and then this guy is going to slide in here and make contact with the original broken surface. So I'm going to pool some JB weld in here. I'm going to fixture all this up to where it's nice and square. I'll let that dry. Then after I'm happy that the lever is secure, then I'll run a bead of JB weld around the outside of these washers. So it's going to be a little two-step process. I got the band select mechanism repaired. Yeah, it doesn't look pretty, but I bet you with these washers on either side of the lever, it's going to be stronger than new. So it's going to go back on the radio like it used to. Everything lines right back up. But before I reinstall this, I need to take care of this switch because she's really binding. So I'm going to use this knob, pop it on there, get this cleaned and lubed to where it's free to operate, and then I'll put this all back together. Alright, I've got the switch freed up, cleaned and lubed it through a little deoxit on the contacts. So let's get the assembly hooked up, and then I'm going to dust this thing off. We'll power it back up. Alright, I got the lever installed. Here is the little band select knob. You can see she's working nice and smooth. So that problem is solved. Now let's get the contamination off this thing and I'll power it back up. Alright, here we go. She's plugged in. Magic eye tube. Not showing much of life at all. Not sure what band I'm on. So the tuning belt broke. So I have to tune it this way. So not much going on that band. Oh.
We're accepting
oh yeah.
toy regular business hours until November 30th.
U.S. Marine Corps Reserve will pass the toys along to kids in need.
So standard AM broadcast is working. Let's try this last band here. Not much there but a rumble. Either way, she's showing promise. Next thing I need to do, of course, is check the tubes, caps, clean switches, etc. But the Zenith is coming along. Alright, so I couldn't stand it. I checked the tubes, and pretty much every one of them were completely dead. So it's like, how could this thing have ever received in the first place? So I'm retesting, okay? I'm on the first, I believe, shortwave band here, okay? Still having to tune manually. Okay, anyway, that shortwave band is working. Here's the broadcast band.
Clear campuses and many more. See what MSA?
I mean,
Park Zoo. Here's Claire Lane. Still not too.
Working excellent. Here's the third band. And that one is not working. But the Zenith is really starting to come to life. I'm kind of getting excited about this, even though I have other projects that are much higher priority. Alright, so how cool is that? We took the Zenith from this dead dust mite infected chassis to operation simply by putting in some filter caps, cleaning some switches, and new tubes. So obviously this thing wants to come back to life. So in part 2, I'll go in and recap it. We'll repair that wiring. I'll fix that IF can that has the internal short. We're going to completely rebuild it. I'm not sure when that's going to happen, okay? So don't start emailing me, hey Terry, where's part 2? Where's part 2? Where's part 2? I'll get to it, okay? I got a lot of other stuff going on. This is just for fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll see you again here at D-Lab Electronics.